Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to want to make your way to a seat at the Progressive School of Rock stage. We have two gentlemen who are considered the Michelangelos of the motorcycle world. They are artists, they are builders. First off, we have from Southern California, the beautiful Austin. No, it's Dustin Kott. Hey, buddy. How's it going? Have a seat. There's your mic. All right. So, where are you from, technically?
I'm in North County, Los Angeles.
North County, Los Angeles.
Right above North Hollywood.
All right. So you're right in the thick of it out there.
The thick of it.
You look like you belong out there, though.
Thanks, man.
You're a beautiful man. I just get that right off my chest.
Well, that boy band thing is coming together.
Yeah, I tell you. Well, at your age, it's going to be a man band, but still, whatever. No, you are a talented fella. I didn't know of you, which is not a surprise to you, but until one of the people that works in the Progressive Marketing Group, we were looking for some bikes to have built here, and they found you on Instagram, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, I was amazed that they were able to find me. I mean, based on how I operate, I'm not really open for business. I operate out of a small tin shed. With just minimal tools, but maximum passion.
There you go. Yeah. So that shows you the power of social media. But you also pointed out yesterday that they did their research about trying to find you.
Yeah, that was. That was a win. That was a thumbs up for Progressive, being able to sort of investigate the underbelly of this whole movement, the handcrafted motorcycle movement, and it's not just motorcycles; it's other aspects too. But I was amazed that they were able to dig deep enough and to find a guy like myself who might be able to communicate something they were trying to accomplish.
Absolutely. Now let's talk a little bit about how did you get into motorcycles?
I got into motorcycles at a really young age only because I was surrounded by them constantly. And not only that, I was surrounded by men who had dedicated themselves to keeping motorcycles alive, especially vintage motorcycles. And so there's a spirit and a heartbeat in vintage motorcycles that I always resonated with. And motorcycles for me made the world a real big place. Yeah. I mean, I didn't even want to go anywhere unless I was on two wheels. And so I made a dedication to doing that throughout my 20s. I used to ride across the country and back and sleep outside. And everyone in this room understands the idea that, that makes the world a huge place again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, well, we're kindred spirits in that way, because I used to do it because I didn't have enough money, so I'd just pull over and sleep next to my bike.
Absolutely.
Wake up in the morning covered in dew,
Yeah.
And that was about it. So, now, when did you decide that building custom motorcycles was going to be what you did for money?
I still don't make any money at it.
Still don't?
I don't know. I never even came to that conclusion.
Okay.
No, this really is kind of a lifestyle for me. And it's a great devotion, it's a passion, and it's worth following. And I don't know what it turns out like on the other side of this, but being here amongst all these major manufacturers and actually having a motorcycle in the Progressive platform, that's a dream come true. That seems ludicrous to me. And having done it with an angle grinder and a screwdriver and an idea, that means that I feel like I'm doing something right. And as these doors keep opening, I feel like it would be foolish to not walk through them.
Absolutely. So now you build, let's talk about your bikes a little bit. What kind of bikes are you into building?
Well, you said something that sparked sort of that comment that I'm about to make, where you said I never had any money. I didn't either. But when I grew up, I had encyclopedias that had old British bikes, Vincent Black Shadows, Triumphs, Nortons. I also was really inspired by the early American board trackers, Excelsior, Henderson, Indian, Pierce, all those really eclectic motorcycles that now are worth, they're priceless now.
Yeah.
And so I was always dedicated to trying to emulate some of that, just the silhouette of those types of motorcycles, but the only thing I could afford were mostly 60s, 70s import motorcycles, Japanese, sometimes English, an occasional American bike, but mostly the Japanese platform, because people would give me $100 to get the bike out of the garage for them.
Yeah, well, back in the day, the rule of thumb in my neighborhood was you got $1 a cc. That was pretty much it. If you had a 650, it was worth $650. You get it scratched together.
It's quadrupled that now,
Oh, yeah.
especially in a place like Southern California, where these bikes are now, people identify with them so much, and they're worth their weight in gold now.
Yeah, really are. So what did you bring? What did you build for Progressive? What is it that you have there?
If you guys haven't seen it in the Progressive booth, I have a 1973 Honda CB750 that's far from stock. I mean, there's a lot of proprietary changes that I've made. It's a fully refurbished bike, so it's a resto modification, but it's got a lot of proprietary pieces that I make, and then I've used a lot of different manufacturers' pieces to just sort of culminate into this unique hodgepodge mongrel of a motorcycle, but with a lot of refinement and I feel like classiness to it.
It's beautiful. When we were going around yesterday, Pat Patterson, who's a local boy from Dayton, Ohio here, has the other Progressive bike in there, and I interviewed him for some folks in front of a big group of people, these two, and you used the word proprietary, and Pat, when he got done with his interview, he was like, well, he said, like the one things he makes. Pat was upset because you used a big word, and he couldn't say it. So
those are $10 words.
Those are $10 words. But beautiful stuff. Now, where did you go to learn your skill set?
Again, I was surrounded by men who had dedicated themselves to getting maximum performance and artistry out of motorcycles, and I was able to, thankfully, I was able to be mentored under those types of guys, but there was no formal education for the subjectivity of motorcycle building. Not that I know of, at least. I mean, there's different workshops and courses you could take to metal shape and everything else, but it really is in the eye of the beholder. And so thankfully, I was able to, with, again, minimal tools, I was able to start creating those silhouettes that resonated with me and artistically were satisfactory. And I love the fact that motorcycles are so subjective and are artistic, but they also require truth and mathematics, you know, and so it's a perfect culmination of those two prospects.
Well, before we get finished here, I want to make sure that if you could tell somebody, because we have guys that come through and look at these custom bikes and say, well, I don't have enough money to buy that bike, but if I could just start working on what would you tell them? What would you tell them to get started to build a bike?
Again, it's entirely up to the individual, and that's what's great about motorcycles. Everyone in this room considers a motorcycle an extension of their own personality to some extent, and motorcycles have always been so influential in modern culture, even from Easy Rider to, you know, modern day manufacturers replicating sort of the custom industry and what's happening there. But I would say figure out what it is that you want to do with a motorcycle and dedicate yourself to it with great devotion. For me, it's part of that devotion is living in a tin shed.
Yeah.
And I've got a short commute to work, but you know, it's being able to sort of make that visualization reach fruition at the end of the day is very satisfying. And so if anyone has any inclination whatsoever to do that, I suggest just dedicating yourself to it. But don't come into it thinking you're going to make any money. Just know that it's going to be very satisfactory.
And I always tell people, don't start on your daily rider.
No, keep that dialed in.
Yeah, you'll never ride again.
And make sure that you recognize that you're going to learn everything about motorcycling on the side of the road, like I have.
Exactly. Your best lessons will be besides semis going 80 miles an hour.
Right.
So.
Sounds like you've done it.
That's right. So, well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up. Dustin Kott, truly an artist.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you
listening. Make sure that you
listening.
get to the Progressive booth and see his bike. And I really appreciate you being here with me today. Appreciate it.